Hey everyone, welcome back to yet another video. Today we are going to recap week 9 of the NFL season. Just looking at this week was crazy, just like any other week, but this one just felt even crazier as matchups just ended on the last play, last minute for some of them. But yeah, let's get into it. First up, we had this game. Yeah, this one was expected after just how the Dolphins has been so far this season. Now, I will admit that I didn't originally think it was going to be like this after last week. However, I had a feeling that it was a fluke game against the Falcons. And yeah, this game just absolutely proved it. This is almost the exact same score as the Browns game. Just 3 more for the Ravens, and it would have been exactly that. But yeah, Lamar Jackson came back at the right time. 8.9 in yards per attempt, 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Tua had an interception, and Dolphins in general had 2 more fumbles. Had 2 fumbles to go along with that interception. And this is just not a good game for the Dolphins at all. De'Von Achane continues to be the one bright spot about the Dolphins, having 67 yards. But what can you do when the Dolphins can't even do anything otherwise? De'Von Achane should just get every carry. Why is Tua even throwing for 40 times compared to 14 De'Von Achane carries when De'Von Achane is your offense at this point? But on the Ravens side, yeah, there's not really much else to say, though, because the Ravens side, yeah, you had Lamar Jackson doing well, you had Derrick Henry doing well. Just against this Dolphins defense, it's not really hard to play well, but yeah, there's not really much else to say with this one. It was just a bad game overall. Next up. Okay. So Cincinnati and Chicago had so many points in that final bit. Hold on. I need to go to Gamecast for this. As you can see, I'm doing it so these 3 are highlighted. Noah Fant, touchdown, minute 43 left, 54 seconds under Yostifat. I probably butchered that last name a bit there. He got a touchdown for Flacco. 17 seconds left. Corsten Loveland, game winner from Caleb Williams. And the Bengals was like right there as well. There was 2 Bengals. Like, you gotta see in the image of. I want to try to find that image for the thumbnail. I'm going to try. I may not find it, but Loveland was on 1 foot. There was 2 Bengals behind him. And somehow Colson Loveland was able to get by and score the touchdown. It could have only been a field goal if the Bengals actually did their defense, did their part in defense, but they just sold that game so badly. And then just throughout the game, Caleb Williams did excellent. You had Kyle Monangai do well in the rushing game. I think now DeAndre Swift was hurt this game. I do think this game puts the running situation into more of a 1A, 1B thing rather than DeAndre Swift having most of the carries. Loveland did great, having that game winner. And DJ Moore did pretty good. And Zacchaeus had quite a bit of targets into this game as well. On the Cincinnati side of things, yes, Flacco did well against our injured defense. Chase Brown continues to not do that great. But Also, one of those T. Higgins touchdowns I felt like should probably had a little bit of like potential offensive pass interference with that to where that touchdown shouldn't have happened. But oh well, they did not call it. Um, but when you see the clip, it definitely looks, at least has the looks to where it could have been that offensive pass interference. But throughout this game, it was simply just a game of offense and no defense for either team. The Bengals defense is just terrible, and now it's just injured, so that makes a lot of sense. But yeah, the Bears pull off a close one. And next, how did this happen? JJ McCarthy and the Vikings wins 27-24 against the Detroit Lions. Okay. JJ McCarthy did not play all too well, actually, considering he only had four. And this is definitely more Aaron Jones because 78 yards of 9 carries, 8.7 average. He left in the third quarter, which also does make sense why a lot of the scoring happened in the first half for the Vikings. Yeah, because JJ McCarthy generally did not play that well this game, and because 5.7 average and only this amount of completion, and only 14 out of 25, that's not good. No matter what you would try to say, that's actually just not that good. 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. This is all the running game, actually. And I want to continue to say this. It's all the rushing game because, yeah, the passing game just was not there. The Lions, I guess their defense just allowed the rush game. Their one game did not do that well. David Montgomery having 40, Jahmyr Gibbs only having 25 yards. Goff did in his part for the most part, and having 284 yards and 2 touchdowns. And I think the rushing game really decided this game because the Vikings did well rushing, Detroit did not. Vikings ended up winning, even though the Lions did a lot better passing. I think that's the tale of this game, honestly, because Detroit got to be able to get their run game going. Part of it may have to do with like the Vikings defense being good rushing wise, but yeah, this was a good win for the Vikings. This is a win against a good opponent for the Vikings. So while I'm not overly confident about their next game, at least this one boosted up a little bit rushing wise. I don't know. This Vikings team is overall not that great, and JJ McCarthy is not really that good, but they ended up getting a win here. We end off the NFC North. Oh. The Panthers winning 16-13 against the Packers. Let's just start off with the Packers, shall we? Normally I do the away team first, but let's just start with the Packers this time. Packers. How's it going for you? The thing is, the offense really did not do all too bad, honestly. I'll give flops that they didn't do all too bad. Jordan Love did 273 yards, and he did have an interception. The rushing game was able to get going a little bit with 87 yards. But you couldn't score against the Panthers? Come on, man. You had 2 turnovers as well, which one from the interception, one from the fumble. Like, come on, man. And I gotta say it, Rico Dowdle is the Panthers offense. 130 yards off 25 carries and 2 touchdowns. That's absolutely just their offense. Bryce Young didn't even have that much of a role in this game. 11 of 20 for 102 yards. And when essentially half of your total offensive snaps ended up going to Rico Dowdle, well, almost half. He is your offense. Which, I get, low scoring game with Rico Dowdle would make sense. But the Panthers defense just ended up doing great against the Packers as well. And man, when the Bears win, the Lions lose against the Vikings somehow, and the Packers lose, that just makes for a good week. But yeah, Panthers just pulled off Rico Dowdle. Pulled off the Rico Dowdle strategy and won it. Next up, why was this one close? We had the Los Angeles Chargers going up against the Tennessee Titans. And when you look at the box score, you'd be like, no touchdowns? Apparently so, because you had a punt return, you had a defensive you had, I don't know why I'm saying 2 here when it's only really 1. But yeah, the Titans just was able to, they got 14 points without even doing that well on offense in the first quarter. And I was like, okay, I wasn't that tuned into this game as much, so I was like, is the Chargers going to pull another Giants in this game? Because, like, everyone bet on the Chargers, and they ended up losing. At the beginning, I was like, was this going to happen again? But no, the Chargers ended up coming back and winning, but it is a lot closer than what the score ended up being closer than what it should have been. And Justin Herbert played well, and I guess Jared Patterson did well for the rushes he did, but the rushing game is missing in their top running backs. Amon Hampton being out for a little more, and Harris being out for the season. And the Titans just continue to not play that well. Offense was not clicking. Defense wasn't clicking that much. It was a closer game than what needed to be, but the Chargers ended up pulling it off. Next up, we had the New England Patriots just squeaking it out against the Atlanta Falcons. I almost had it right when I told you guys in the picks video that the Falcons was probably going to find a way to win. I almost had it right. And it was 1 point off. Penix Jr. did not play that well. 6 average per attempt, 221 yards off 37 attempts. He did have 3 touchdowns, though, all going to Drake London. And he scored like 38 points in fantasy. That was amazing. But Drake May, 8.9 average. He didn't have that much. He wasn't going as much in completion percentage, which against the Falcons absolutely makes sense. Neither rushing game really got on foot, but the Falcons just need to use Bijan more. I've read a stat where it's like they're 3-0 when they have 15 or more carries, and when Bijan has 15 or more carries, and he didn't have 15 or more carries this game. Which, surprisingly enough, they've won every time Bijan has had 15 or more carries, and they've lost every time when he didn't. Let's see if that streak keeps going. But yeah, neither rushing game really did too much, and what sold the game for the Falcons is Parker Romo missing an extra point, their last touchdown, which made all the difference in the world in this game. 24-23 with an missed extra point by Romo absolutely hurt the Falcons in this game. That's just the Falcons' luck. And now the Falcons are going to face the Colts next. So that'll be a fun game for the Falcons. But yeah, the Patriots just squeaked by in this one. Next up, we had the 49ers winning 34-24 against the New York Giants. The 49ers, they ended up looking pretty good against the Giants' awful defense. Now 19 of 24, 9.8 average. That's pretty good. 2 touchdowns as well. Christian McCaffrey continues to do well. As 28 carries, 106 yards, and a touchdown, and even having 5 receptions and another touchdown. That's extremely good stuff. Jackson Dart, yeah, this game was not that good of a game for him. He did have a good rushing stat line, going 56 yards and a touchdown off 8 carries, but his passing, what was he doing? 5.8 average, 24-33. He generally has not really been that good, and I expected in just not seeing that good of a stat line. For Jackson Dart, he has not really been that good. As soon as Cam Scalaboo went out for the season, I even said it in one of the videos, but like RIP to the Giants season, because I felt like Cam Scalaboo was the offense, and while Jackson Dart can do a little bit, he's missing his top receiver. He's missing his best running back now. What's supposed to happen with the Giants throughout the season now? More losing probably, and this game just shows a little bit, because if they had one of the two, they possibly could have won. But it's not really much else to say with this one, honestly, because the Giants are just too injured with their top stars to really win much more. Next up, we had the Indianapolis Colts losing to the Pittsburgh Steelers 27-20. Yeah, I was not expecting this at all. The Colts just turned it over way too much. They had... Okay. That's essentially the whole point, because the Steelers often, their rushing game really just did not do that well at all. They could not even get to like 250 yards. Let alone even just 220, I think. It was like in the 225 total, okay. But yikes. That was... They ended up getting to 27 points with 225 yards. That is just not good on the Colts, because their turnovers just really did it. Jonathan Taylor did not even have that much of... Okay, maybe it's because it was a little bit too much on Daniel Jones, because 50 attempts, meanwhile Jonathan Taylor only had 14 carries. What? This is kind of usage on Jonathan Taylor is the reason why Daniel Jones was able to just have that many turnovers. And based on what I'm seeing here, he had 3 interceptions, and Daniel Jones had 2 fumbles along with that. Jonathan Taylor's the real offense within his team. Daniel Jones, he's serviceable with Jonathan Taylor. If the rushing game's not there, he's bad. At this point, we could just say that, because the Steelers' defense did not perform at all the week before, but now they do. I can't even say anything about the Steelers' offense, because they generally just was not playing well. And it's just the turnovers that got them the win. Next up, we had such a low-scoring affair between the Denver Broncos and the Houston Texans. Yeah, I guess this low scoring makes sense, considering both defenses are pretty good. Bo Nix didn't do that well. C.J. Stroud, while he was there, played kind of well, actually, but then Davis Mills did not. C.J. Stroud had that horrible injury, though, but not the worst injury that happened this week. Hopefully C.J. Stroud is back relatively soon, sadly cannot say the same about someone upcoming, but yeah, this one was an ugly game. The Broncos pulled it off in the fourth quarter again. The Broncos rushing game, I think, was the one that carried it most part, since J.P. Cobbins had 61 yards off 15 carries, and for the Texans, they couldn't get the rushing game going that much, and yeah, the Broncos just keep winning off in the fourth quarter, since 11 of their 18 points came in the fourth quarter as well. So yeah, you really cannot say too much else. This is a low-scoring affair, a more boring game score-wise, but yeah, the Broncos just pulled it off. Next up, we had an interesting finish with this game. We had Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars winning 30-29 against the Las Vegas Raiders. When I say interesting, let's just say overtime. In overtime, the Raiders got the touchdown, and they failed a 2-point conversion. Now, okay, you know what? I can't blame the Raiders too much. I'd rather not see it go into a tie. We already had one tie this year. We did not need a second. Thank you, Packers, for that one. But Trevor Lawrence did not play too well. We had the rushing game do a lot of the work. Bashaw Tutson got a touchdown. Lawrence got 2 rushing TDs. Etienne did most of the carries with 84 yards. And Geno actually played well. Granted, Jaguars' defense has not been that great recently. And might I just say, Brock Bowers did excellent for the Raiders this time. He came back from injury, so this is such a good comeback game for Bowers. 12 receptions, 127 yards, and 3 touchdowns. That's crazy. Look, it's such a good game to come back from injury. But the Raiders, they blew it. Their defense blew it against the Jaguars. They blew it with the 2-point conversion. And that 2-point conversion even got, the Jaguars just ended up just blocking the pass. And I don't know what Geno was thinking throwing it there at that point, especially with a Jaguar right in the middle of the pass. But yeah, Jaguars pulled off a fairly close game. And yeah, they just squeaked by there. Next up, we have this relatively boring game. Tyler Shuck didn't play all too bad in his first start. 7.3 average. And the rush game kind of was able to do a little bit. Taysom Hill. But yeah, Matthew Stafford just diced up the Saints defense. 8.8 average, 4 touchdowns. The rushing game was able to be there with 114 yards off 25 carries for Kylan. I'm not going to waste anyone's time with this one. This game was just easily the Rams. I thought it probably would have been closer, but it just ended up being a boring game that the Rams won by 24. So, next up, we had the Bills winning against the Chiefs 28-21. The Chiefs. Mahomes actually did not play all too well. He did have 250 yards, but only 15 of 34 completions. So, yeah, that completion percentage is not really that good. The rushing game, they did their part at least. Kareem Hunt had 49 yards. And yeah, the completion percentage was just not there for the Chiefs. It was Rashee Rice having 4 of 7, Kelsey having 4 of 5. But some of the lower names did not really have that much. Josh Allen, though, he had 23 of 26 for the Bills. Only 1 touchdown to show for passing-wise, but he did have 2 rushing touchdowns. And the Bills is just better on offense. And I kind of expected it to be a little bit closer to the game, considering the Bills' defense has not really showed up before the bye. But if this game is a sign, the Bills are back. And they'll be competing with the Patriots again for the division. And it's definitely possible to where whoever loses the division is just going to be the 5 seed. And because both the Patriots and the Bills are just that good this year. But anyways, we do have... Yeah, this was just a good game for the Bills. And it's kind of really something for the Chiefs. He's with the completion percentage, but at the same time, Patrick Mahomes is one that can bounce back from that. So I'm not going to be like shocked if he has like 80% completion. Okay, maybe not that much, but he'll probably end up doing well the next game, and the Bills just end up beating the Chiefs like they usually do in the regular season, and we'll see if they end up facing off against each other in the playoffs, if the Bills can actually do that then. Next up, should I just start with this? Honestly, should I just start with it? I may as well. I referred to it in the Texans game. Jaden Daniels. Yeah, that injury was bad. I would absolutely be shocked if he plays at any point throughout the season again. That was just such a bad injury. And I don't know why he was still out there at the time, because it was in the fourth quarter. They had no shot at winning. 38-14 with all... The Seahawks already scored all their 38 by the time the third quarter ended. And yeah, I just don't know, man. That was just not a good injury at all. And I want to be happy for the Seahawks since they were able to just outright dominate this game. But with the way that fourth quarter happened, you kind of have to feel bad for Jaden Daniels. And I'm going to go away from the Jaden Daniels part now. I'm going to try not to do that while I talk about the Seahawks here, since I usually go through each team. Sam Darnold absolutely played well in 21-24 in completion percentage, in completion per attempt, 13.8 average, 330 yards. That's crazy. 4 touchdowns, 1 interception was there, but that interception just took away from a possibly perfect game, basically. The rushing game wasn't really that much there. Kenneth Walker only had 3.8, but Sam Darnold was absolutely able to do everything he wanted. Torrey Horton had 2 touchdowns, and did anyone else think that he would have even 2 touchdowns? But yeah, it's hard to talk about the Commanders without even mentioning the injury again, but the Seahawks ended up dominating the Commanders in this game. And finally, the Cowboys just did it. They just did it. The Cardinals winning against the Cowboys 27-17. Jacoby Brissett ended up playing well for the Cardinals. 131 for 261 yards and 2 touchdowns. And I think earlier today, Jacoby Brissett is essentially named the starting quarterback moving forward. I forgot to mention anything from the trade deadline in this video, even though I planned on it. I'll mention it. It's one of the most notable ones to me on Thursday. But the Washington game was able to get going as well for the Cardinals, and for Dallas, I don't know what to say about this, because the Washington game was able to get good and get going, with Javonte Williams having 83 yards and 15 carries, but Dak, what happened? You've been playing so well throughout the season so far, and then you lay a dud against the Cardinals of all teams? This is why I can't take Dallas seriously in itself. And they just allowed the Cardinals to score 27. And you can only muster up 17. This comes after the Broncos game as well. So what's happening, Dallas? Is your offense not really that good anymore? But who knows? Maybe the Cardinals is getting better than the whole, we're just going to play up to the competition, because the Cardinals actually did generally do their best game of the season so far in this game. Granted, it was against the Cowboys defense. However, I think the Cardinals may be turning it around a little bit compared to how they usually have been. So we'll see if this game is an indicator of that, or if it's just a fluke game that the Cardinals just did well in. So yeah, Cardinals won 27-17. We'll see what happens here. But that was my reactions to the game. If you liked this video, please hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.